Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Grandmaster Chess Speedrun, where we are playing principled attacking chess with the eventual goal of beating a chess grandmaster. In this episode, we are officially entering the big leagues with a player of almost 2,000 strength, and we're going to see if this e4-d4 opening, which I've been peddling this whole speedrun, is able to keep up at this high level. So we're going to start with pawn to d4, sacrificing the first pawn and also giving up the second, so that we can activate our knights very quickly, develop the bishop out, and get a good initiative on the king. So playing pawn to c3, already happy to see they've taken the first, very happy to see they've taken the second, so that now we can get our knight out. We saw a little bit earlier that queen to e7 was quite a strong move when we played a cheater, but clearly our opponent is not going for that. So we see knight c6, this is one of the most common moves, and they're probably going to go bishop to b4. I think this is the most testing way to play, at least on a human level, but we're going to go bishop to c4 and at least put some pressure on the f7 pawn. Already I think pawn d6 is actually a small mistake. You need to get this bishop out, and by not developing, you're going to make your job a lot harder. And even ideas like queen to b3 start to become possible. For example, if their idea is to go bishop e6 to neutralize our bishop, then we can already capture that and then go queen to b3, which would be a fork. So I think we're just going to continue developing with our knight coming out, and we should be in good shape. Bishop g4 could also be a mistake due to potential sacrifices with bishop f7 and knight to g5. So they go knight to f6 here. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, do we want to go queen to b3 now so that they can't go bishop e7 and castle? And it's an interesting question, because we have to evaluate whether or not we think queen d7 is worthwhile to provoke. After queen to d7, we could go for, say, e5 takes bishop g5 and try and get a fast initiative with the rook coming into the game. It's quite interesting. We could also just go for a simple move like knight g5, putting pressure on the f7 pawn, and given that the knight can't go to h6 anymore, it actually looks quite hard to defend, other than the move knight to e5. So on knight g5, knight e5, do we have any follow-up there? I think that looks quite unclear. But maybe we go queen to b3, queen d7, then knight g5, then knight e5. Is there anything here? Maybe it's not so obvious. Actually, thinking back on it, I remember getting this exact position. Maybe not this exact position, I think h6 might have been included, but in that episode, someone in the comments told me that pawn to b4 was a good move. And it does look pretty weird and a little bit superficial. But the point is, I think that after knight takes on b4, we go queen to b3, sorry, and put pressure on the pawn and also the knight here. And then bishop to e7, we go b5, and then knight a5, and I don't really know what they were up to there, but we'll see after the game, I guess, if pawn to b4 was the top stockfish move. Nevertheless, I think we have to keep moving, and probably what I'm just going to do is simply castle the king. Yeah, let's just castle the king. I don't really like queen b3 that much, because eventually they're going to go for knight to a5 after queen goes up to d7. So I think I'm going to reject that one for now and just focus on getting my own development in. And after they put the bishop on e7, could just play a move like h3 to stop the bishop coming out to g4. Or just rook e1, an improving move. I quite like h3 because it restricts their light square bishop's development, and if it ever goes to e6, then once again we can capture it and play queen b3 with the fork. So they're going to opt for bishop to d7 here, and I think just slow moves like rook e1, prepare an eventual pawn to e5 push. If they attack our bishop, we can play bishop to f1 maybe as a retreat. And we can also maybe start to push in the center, seeing as they're refusing to get their king to safety. Because after this capture here, and all of these captures are said and done, this bishop is looking a little bit dodgy, and now that the queen's moved away from the defense, it'll be much harder to castle. So I think now's the time to strike. We're playing a gambit. we need to strike while the king is in the center, and I think e5 is begging to be played. So they capture with the pawn. Let's capture with the knight. They probably should castle here, I guess. And then we might have some pressure on the f7 pawn. We could just play something like bishop g5 as well. But instead they decide to take. And this is all of a sudden looking pretty hairy. I mean, we've got bishop g5, knight d5. They decided to sack, which I don't think works at all. Yeah, not really sure what the idea is. I think we can just take that, go queen e2, and then looks like we're winning the bishop as well. I don't see an attack here. Our queen's covering g4, so there's no check. So I'm just going to take that bishop and say, thank you very much. Then, yeah, follow up with queen e2 I think makes the most sense for sure. I mean, knight g4 is just nothing here. We capture it and then play bishop to f4, guarding the h2 square. I think we're just completely winning here. The bishop is under fire. If they want to play queen d7 and try to retreat, then we can play bishop g5, you know, putting them under more pressure, looking to capture here. They still can't castle. e7's loose. I mean, yeah, okay, they just decide to trade queens, but this is not enough. We could attack the knight. Yeah, I mean, our rook's under fire, of course. But if we attack the knight, then they're going to go knight back to f6. So probably we should just play rook e2, moving the rook back to a light square and a safe square. And they still can't castle either way because the bishop is loose. And I'd rather keep the knight on this loose square where it's also not controlling the center. So let's just develop the bishop now. Quite like this one. They might go bishop c5, which is a little bit annoying, I guess. In which case, no, I don't think it's a big deal. We can always move back. We can always, yeah, just protect it. It's really, really not that impressive. So yeah, let's just develop the bishop, attack this pawn. I expect they'll go something like bishop to c5. And maybe we can play knight e4. Okay. I quite like rook to d1 here. Going for rook d7, trying to really get all of the pieces into the attack. And you can see this f7 pawn's going to be under major pressure after this bishop gets forced out of the position. So we only got a couple minutes to convert, 3-4 minutes. So we're going to have to make sure that we're moving at fairly quickly. I guess at this point, yeah, maybe we just capture this pawn over here. Seems pretty reasonable. Alternatives, we could go for this knight to d5. Yeah, I think we just take the pawn. Let's keep it simple for now. We can take with the knight, offer a knight trade. This pawn's still loose. You know, it's just, yeah. Trading off the pieces will benefit us because we have the material advantage. Okay, they take the rook. We're going to take back. Knight e3 looks fine now. And just going to have to wait and see what they do, really. I guess they'll go bishop c5. Okay. Looking for rook to c6, which seems reasonable. Let's drop the bishop back to f4. Attacking the rook. Rook goes to c6. We can just play bishop to b3. And then follow up with knight to e3. So we're going to keep exchanging the pieces. If we can get the knight off the board, that's going to simplify things down even more. Also, bishop to d5 looks decent here. Just harassing the rook, trying to get it to this awkward square on b6. Yeah, I quite like the look of this. Let's attack the rook. And it can't go to c1, which is very important because the bishop's covering that square. And after it goes over to b6, okay, yeah, we should move the king to the corner so that we don't get in any trouble with some discovered check nonsense. And then follow up with knight to e3 to exchange off this knight. The pawn is loose as well, so we'll be able to capture that in the future. Okay, Bishop c5. As far as I can see, that's a free pawn, so we should take that. 2 pawns makes the job even easier. And then we can always play knight to e3 after we've already reclaimed our pawn. Let's try and exchange some of the pieces now with bishop here. I think I made a small blunder because they can take with the bishop now, and I can't take with the pawn because there's a check, which is a little bit annoying. So I'm going to have to take back with the knight, and then they can take with the knight here, which is a pain because I missed that. So they're going to go knight f2, yeah, and king g2, knight to d3, but should still be winning. Okay, now it should be quite easily winning. Yeah, let's exchange, bring the king, and try and start promoting our pawns over here. Okay, knight goes back. Let's protect the pawn. I mean, 2 pieces can stop 3 pawns without too much hassle, I would hope. Although, I think I just blundered again, which is not good. Not good at all. Oh no. This is starting to become very difficult. Am I going to have to be able to like mate with 2 minor pieces? This is not good at all. This is not good at all. Goodness. Okay. This is going to be a huge pain actually. Oh no. Okay. We're going to have to play fast. Yeah, I don't know if this is clearly winning anymore. I'm going to have to demonstrate how to mate with the minor pieces. Okay, going to have to move faster as well. Let's activate the king. Bring the knight into the middle. Okay, activate the bishop. If I can put my bishop here and play b4, maybe there's something to it. He might just eliminate my pawn and say that he doesn't believe I can checkmate, which honestly wouldn't be the worst call. Okay, put the king here. And I believe I can checkmate, so I'm going to try and keep this pawn just with the bishop like this. Wait a minute, why did I not take the base of the pawn chain? Uh-oh. That was very weird. Okay. I think, yeah, we're having a little bit of panicking. Okay. I don't know how I'm going to get these pawns, to be honest. Unless he keeps pushing them forward, but... How do I get to any of this? Okay, I'm going to have to be quiet now, guys. Let's repeat the position. Should be a win, I think. If I'm not wrong. Yeah, it should be a win. Because he's going to have to leave this pawn or push it. Alright. Yeah, we're good. If he goes this way, I've dropped the bishop back. Nice. Put the bishop here, like this. Shoot. Did I blunder? Oh God, no. Ah, that was so bad. What am I doing? Oh, I blundered the draw. Damn it. Oh no, guys, I completely choked that one. Wow. Yeah, that should have been a win. I mean, it's not easy, I don't think, but it should have been a win, surely. Guess I can take this, then play bishop f1. No, it's not winning. Is this a win? Ah, no, I should have just played this. That's not good. Yeah. I should have played this, I think. The bishop just guards the pawns. And then I can use the bishop while guarding the pawns to help my pawn up the board, I think. That must have been the way to go. Yeah, that's poor. Because it's protecting this square, the king will be forced out before I have to stalemate it. And eventually we'll get the king on a7, the king on c7, just to demonstrate this, guys. Like this. Here. And then white will win. Yeah, that's really poor. Okay, well, let's take a look at the analysis anyway. Yeah. That's what happens when you get low on time, I guess, and start to panic. Okay, so an 84 accuracy for a 70 move game. Looks like we had a huge advantage early on, which is unsurprising because we were just up a full piece. This was all good apparently, which is interesting. Queen b3 is the suggested move, and queen d7 is forced. I wasn't a huge fan of this position, but okay, engine gives queen c2 and says that forcing queen d7 is an improvement. But all this was fine. e5 break was good, and then they were just in big trouble. They gave us the piece, which was no good. And then yeah, this endgame is just completely winning for white. Yeah, this was all fine. And then bishop e3 was a huge blunder. Yeah, we could have played even bishop g3 looks fine. Yeah, bishop g3 looks fine. Bishop g5 was fine as well. Probably bishop h4 here. And then knight e3 looks good. And if this, aha, we have this backwards bishop move. That's quite nice. Or forwards bishop move to go backwards. Okay. But yeah, after this was a really big mistake. And this endgame is not easy to win at all. In fact, it's approaching equality already. Now the engine's giving full zeros. Of course, I'd rather be white here. Can't rightly say why I didn't take this. I mean, it's just a free pawn. Yeah, somehow it's still zeros, but that would have made things a little bit easier. And then they kind of over pushed it with the light square weaknesses. And we started to wriggle around, capture a pawn here. White's now got the advantage. Already it likes this endgame. Thinks that this one's a win because the bishop goes here, guards all the squares. Very similar, I think, to how the winning technique would have been in the two-pawn version. Doesn't really make a difference how many pawns there are on the dark squares when the light square bishop covers all of them. So king e3. Eventually we ended up in this ending. And wow, I was totally winning after this one. Yeah, because the king's not in the square. What was I doing? The king was not in the square. I could have just pushed the pawn to victory. And I mean, he can't even get close to promoting. It's not even a race. but we missed that. And then this ending's also extremely winning. Yeah, just king d5, here, here, here. Exactly the technique we were just talking about. I mean, black just runs out of moves, like this. Should be very, very simple. Make a waiting move, and eventually they'll have to give up all their pawns before moving out, and then promote, they get mated with the queen. But yeah, at this point the game's then a draw. Screwed it up. I thought that I could make a fortress with the bishop, but just malfunctioned a little bit with low time. Didn't realize that, yeah, I can't actually take either of the pawns because my bishop will end up having to get deflected away to stop the h-pawn promoting. And at this point, nothing more can be done because the bishop cannot simultaneously prevent both pawns moving forward whilst also walling the king out. There's no diagonal which allows the bishop to protect and also prevent the king from invading. And then at this point, it's just a draw. Yeah. Okay, well, that's very annoying. I mean, I never like throwing away games. So yeah, this is about as frustrated as I'll get. But, you know, it is what it is. Not a bad learning experience. Yeah, it should always really be moving quicker, I guess. Just in general, I think in this speedrun, as we're getting to stronger players, I really can't be playing with 3 minutes versus 7 just in general. Probably need to, yeah, make my decisions a lot quicker. And yeah, I think that's about it. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.